Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Productive Wellbeing Show, episode 31, with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. And today I am really excited to be joined by the amazing Richard Shorter from The Non-Perfect Dad. Today we are talking about his business, COVID-19 and homeschool educating. Now, let me give you a little bit of a background to Richard. He works with sports coaches and schools and parents to help produce winning character on and off the field. His clients have included a huge list, so I'm just going to list a few. Manchester United RFU, England under-18 team and Wellington Festival, English Cricket Board, Millfield School, Charterhouse School, Essex RFU, Somerset County Cricket Club, England Hockey Club, London Irish, Newcastle Falcons, Dubai England Speaking College, Saracens RFU, and the list goes on. So Richard, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you guys, whichever platform you're joining us on, LinkedIn, Facebook, watching the replay, let us know where you're joining us from. And as we go on through this session, if you've got any questions, put these questions into the comments and we will get to them. So Richard, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Abby. It's really good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So excited to have this conversation because, as I said at the start, you're running your own business and now you have a new job. But before we get on to the new job, which quite a number of people around the world have also got this kind of new job, let's talk about what's changed in your world since lockdown, from the point of view of running your business and your new job.
Well, like everybody else, this is we're all calling it a unique, bizarre kind of time, aren't we? I've got three epic kids. 10, 13 and 15, very, very different. They are normally educated in local schools and they're not. They're at home right now. So our biggest challenge is adjusting to this new role of homeschool educator. I'm slightly cheating. I did marry an English teacher, an English primary school teacher. So I've kind of selected my partner on skill basis just in case we have a pandemic and I have to homeschool at home. You just listed all those brilliant people I've had such a great privilege of working with. I normally deliver that through lots of face-to-face interactive stuff, and obviously and understandably and rightly so, all those things have been cancelled. So yeah, I've gone through, as I'm sure lots of other business owners have, that kind of what's going on with business, what's going on at home. I also run a church as well, so kind of taking a faith community online, taking a business online, and giving my kids what they need at this time. So yes, on LinkedIn, I very cheekily put myself in a new job as a homeschool educator for the COVID-19 shutdown. Do you know what, Abby? I'm not going to lie, some of it has been absolutely brilliant. And as I talk to parents and running some sessions for Premier League football clubs at the moment, we always do research into what parents are struggling with, particularly because no one's gone through this. So we want to hear that narrative. And lots of parents are just feeling back. It is so lovely to not be running at 100 miles an hour, juggling all the clubs. Us middle-class parents, we love a good club for our kids to be in, juggling the homeschool life balance. And so there are lots of positives that have come out of this. And I think kids, on the whole, are going to do all right out of this, actually, because they've got a deeper connection with those in the home environment with them, for those in stable homes. But there are significant challenges with it as well. My older two are at secondary school. Their lessons are all on Google Classroom. I think the teachers have done an epic job at completely changing their educational environment. But the challenge, how do you keep kids motivated in that? How do you keep them feeling connected? How do you keep them feeling like they're making progress when all this is so new and so different?
And so your clients are bringing you in to help support. And as you were saying, sort of you've gone from delivering stuff in person to delivering it online. So they're asking you to still support these children in their athletic journey, if you like. How are you able to keep them inspired and motivated via online, and to sort of support the parents who are maybe concerned that their child is dropping behind and that they're going to lose their what's the word?
Yeah, lose their edge. They're going to lose their competitive edge, aren't they? Well, I think, firstly, Abby, I tend to work mainly with the parents and the coaches. Occasionally, I have the privilege of working with players, and I think what COVID-19 is doing, it's doing in my household, it's doing lots of households, is it is giving us a magnifying glass on the habits that we normally have, and so we're seeing some of the things we normally do really, really well, and we're saying, oh, actually, look at that, my kid is doing those things really well, and it's also putting a magnifying glass on some of those unhealthy habits we have. And for those of us whose kids excel in certain areas, whether it be music, the arts, drama or sport, which is where I mainly dwell, it's giving us that real challenge of what is my kid's identity in our family life? Because normally they're going to training. If they're a swimmer, they're getting, a whole life is about getting up at silly o'clock in the morning and getting them down to the pool and doing all that. If they're in a professional academy basis, they are at X, they give them the title of you play for this academy or that academy, and all of a sudden all of that's being removed in many ways. They're just Jack and Jane at home, and what does that kind of look like? And so how do we help our kids have that identity that is more than being a sportsman or woman? And we see stories in the press about professional sportsmen and women who are struggling with their identity because they've had to put down that. I've struggled with my identity in this time. So it's totally natural and normal. And I think that's the kind of message we've been just trying to give out to parents. Listen, I've jokingly said I'm a COVID-19 educator, but primarily I'm a dad. And my role as a dad is to love my kids, massively love them unconditionally. And I think most parents I meet, and I do work with social services, so I work with the very ugly end of safeguarding as well. But I do recognise that for the majority of parents, they love their children, but accidentally they communicate their love is linked to what their kids do. So because they're excited their kid's in a Premiership rugby or Premiership football or plays for England, that becomes so much of the dominant narrative in the home life and in how the diary is managed that the kid accidentally lands up thinking my identity, I am good because I do this. And what COVID-19 is giving us as parents is a great moment just to say, actually, I don't know where you're at with your maths. I don't know where you're at with your French, because there's no way of knowing. There's no way of judging that now. All this talk of whether we're falling behind is rubbish, because who knows what we're falling behind, because nobody's ever been through a pandemic before. We're just where everybody else is at. And actually, this is a great time just for me to love my kids for who they are, and for the fact that I am their parent. They have this wonderful gift of my genes and my partner's genes. And I'm just going to love them unconditionally in this time. And all the stuff that normally forms our identity around them, it gives us a chance to kind of reset that a little bit and to reset that. And you talk rightly about how do we keep kids motivated. That's really, really tricky. It's really tricky to keep kids motivated. And I think the first thing I want to say is it is very normal for kids in any environment to not feel massively motivated. Right now, us parents, we're changing hats left, right and centre to try and be, like you said, am I an employee right now? Am I running a business right now? Am I a parent? Am I a homeschool educator? Am I a PT instructor joining alongside Joe Wicks? Am I a sports coach? I mean, parents normally juggle a number of hats, but we're juggling all the hats right now. And so for me, normally the job of motivating my kids is shared among a wider pool of adults. And right now that's pretty much dominantly down to me. The schools are doing a great job, but at distance, it's very, very hard to do that. So the first thing I say about motivation is like, give yourselves and give your kids a bit of a break. It's okay to have those days when everybody feels like, oh.
Yeah, and you left 2 jobs off the list, although there are many other jobs. You left the cleaner and you left the cook as well, because don't forget about this. And do you have pets? No?
Yes, we have 3 pets. Well, I have a pet, and then the girls have a pet. Do you know what? You're right. And in the first couple of weeks, I tried to share out some of the cleaning. So my son is a very able sportsman. So we had a sporting challenge each week, and whoever lost had to clean up the downstairs toilet. But he lost the first 2 against me, which I am very chuffed about, I hasten to add. And then he decided he wasn't cleaning the toilet, and now we have a different result of the challenge for us. I think, you're right. So we have a dog, we have 2 pets as well, juggling that. We obviously have wider family we're trying to care for as well in this time. And so in some ways it feels just as busy as it did beforehand, but in a different kind of way. Yeah. And for me, the main tip that I'm saying to parents is you need a week, you need a family routine for a week. You need a family schedule for a week. Now, I naively thought when Boris shut the country down and shut schools, and rightly so, that we would have one utopic schedule, that we'd all have lunch together, we'd all be doing Joe Wicks at the same time and things like that. And it turned out, just because of the way that my work works and the way that my wife's work works and the way that the kids are doing education different, we now have on the back of our sitting room and dining room door, we have a schedule. It's actually 5 schedules on one sheet of paper, because it's just the best way to work it. But we hold it loosely, but it's one of the key ways. Kids love boundaries. Kids will tell you they don't love boundaries, but actually for them to feel psychologically safe, they need boundaries. And having a routine that you hold lightly, but you try and insist. So good getting up time, getting dressed time, exercise time. They're not going to do it every day. I mean, we need to, that's why I say we'll hold it lightly, but we have it there. In our household, I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but we found this works quite well. Sunday evening, we have a family meeting. We plan the following week. Then we try and stick to the schedule that we made on the Sunday evening. We're a little bit flexible with it, but we're trying to be understanding with each other. Like, I forgot to tell the kids they can't be on the internet during this time because you and I were doing this. So this morning, bless them, they were like flexible with me to change their online learning. And then on Friday we have Fancy Dress Friday, where one of us gets to choose the fancy dress theme. We get dressed up for that. We have some photos. Then we have a quick family meeting where we really praise each other for what we've seen we've done well. I'm going to give some tips on how to do that well in a moment. But then we review the week. I think the most important part of any kind of schedule is having an honest review. And we're like, where did we do well? What got in the way? And what are we going to do differently next week? And we just tweak it. We just test it. We tweak it. We review it. And then we watch a film together and have pizza night or whatever. And then on Monday morning, the kids forget that. And we found in the first few weeks that we didn't kind of have routines for the weekend. We didn't have routines in holiday time schedules. And actually we fell up. That tripped us up. We still needed to have a schedule because we're in the same house together. We're in this weird time. And so my kids still needed that safety net of understanding what was happening or vaguely going to happen. Some of the things we've done is we still make our kids make their packed lunches in the mornings for 2 reasons. One, because we don't want them grazing through the kitchen every time they feel a bit hungry. We're trying, I think, there's a danger that through shutdown, we're all going to come back a lot heavier than despite Joe Wicks's best efforts. And then secondly, we also recognise that because we're a mad busy family, we would only sit down for maybe 2-3 evening meals a week because of the way all the clubs happened, that to go from doing 3-4 meals a week together to doing every meal together was really intense. So we just have given our kids the option at lunchtimes, have a packed lunch and eat lunch when it suits you in your schedule. What we've actually found is really lovely is most days they all drift in and have lunch with Alison and I at the same time because they enjoy it and it's nice. But they have that little bit of freedom not to do that.
Amazing. So this is kind of the second question that I had for you. So Richard has given us so many awesome tips here, and I highly recommend that if you guys are even watching this live, go back and watch the replay. Also, recommend and share this with any friends who are juggling businesses and families, or even jobs and families, because Richard really is an expert on this. And we've got some lovely comments coming in from people. Simon Sinclair is saying he's loving your passion, Richard. Hi Simon. Ben Growth from Edinburgh, and Andy Parks is also saying Richard is clearly showing just what little while isolation makes you wonder how we can sort of make the most of our life and time. Richard, specifically now focusing on sort of the theme of this show really around productivity and staying sane and managing your business around the schooling, what things have you put into place for managing your business and managing your time to actually get stuff done? Are you chunking? What tips have you got for business owners? And also, can we just touch on guilt and how to sort of manage guilt? And before we get onto this, guys, if you've got any questions for Richard, please leave them in the comments and we will try to get to them at the end. Otherwise, we'll be hopping on the comments after this to reply to them. And hit the like button, because that's like a virtual high five, and Richard and I need some high fives in our life right now because of
we do
social distancing and no contact. So I
think productivity. Let me break it down into a few bits. I'm going to tell you what we're doing with the kids, and the reason I'm going to tell you what we're doing with the kids is because it's a really great way of doing this in staff teams and for myself, and actually it's what lands up motivating me. So what we've done as a family is we've chosen, and I've nicked this from a former England under-18 rugby coach and kind of developed it a little bit. We've chosen 5 words that we want to work on, 5 mental skills that we want to work on in shutdown time as a family. Actually, they're epic skills, and I'd want my kids to thrive in these at all times. I'd want myself to thrive in these at all times. But part of that motivation piece is breaking down what is it I'm going to do. So we've talked about, we want to see in our week us being commanders, wizards, scientists, medics, and warriors. Let me explain what those mean. Commanders is just good leadership. We want to see good leadership. And so we have a poster underneath our weekly schedule. We've made this up. My kids chose, originally I put Princess Leia and Maximus, can't remember the guy's name, from the film Gladiator as my commander.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Marcus Aurelius? No.
Yes, very good, Abby. Look at that. You've watched that film a number of times. But my kids rejected those images of commander. They wanted the Obamas, so they've chosen to have the Obamas as their commander examples. Then for wizards, we've got Harry Potter and Gandalf, and a wizard is somebody who does something really creative. Does something magically creative, sees what's going on, whether that be in work or practical, and just does something really, really creative. A scientist is someone who problem solves. That's the role of science. So what people won't know is before this, you and I had a nightmare sorting this out. We were great scientists. So later on at the end of my day, when the kids are like, Dad, what did you do well today? I'll be like, actually, Abby and I are pretty good scientists trying to work out the technology problems and kind of work through it. Medic is a caregiver. And then the last one is warrior, is someone who works hard. So under the medic, we have Doctor Who. Under the scientist, we have a couple of famous scientists. And under warrior, we have a couple of our favourite rugby players as a family. And what we've been doing for motivation and productivity is trying to point out to each other when we're seeing those keywords. So I'm not really worried about what my kids are doing with their maths. That's a lie. I'm half worried, but I can't control that. I don't understand half my kids' maths right now. And I'm in this weird thing of being interrupted all the time by kids for IT problems and printing problems. So I am trying to chunk, like you say, I'm trying to put, and I'll talk you through my day in a minute, but it's never worked out like that, because if a kid's got a problem with a printer or the neighbors wanted to do, it's such an interruptible world. But at the end of the day, we've been able to say to each other, who saw someone be a good commander today? Oh yeah, we say to the youngest, you were a great commander today, because she's a gymnast and she wanted to do a TikTok with her gymnastics club. So the way you led that was really, really good. And so I'd really encourage parents. Now those are our words and we have that picture. I mean, that's totally adaptable. But actually, if you think about it in team life, Abby, that's a really helpful way of helping team members know that they're on point with their mental skills and their productivity and the type of team that you want to develop. So I'd encourage you to choose 4 or 5, think of famous people or animals who embody them and put that up. And if you're at home, do the same. And that keeps me going in my life. So when I am frustrated, and there are times of crumbs taking this business online has been frustrated, I share my frustrations with my kids, because I don't want my kids to think Dad float. Well, they know Dad doesn't float on some perfection cloud, but I think that when I ask parents in meetings when there are a couple of hundred people, can you remember that time when we used to get a couple of hundred people together? And I would say, who shared with their kids their biggest mistake? Hardly anybody ever has. Sometimes because they're like, come with a rating because they came from university days and, they're not quite, kids aren't quite old enough to hear that story yet. But actually being able to share our mistakes and work that through. And so my kids are then able to go, well, Dad, how did you were a great wizard to solve that problem. You're a great scientist to kind of work on that. Or you were a great warrior because you just kept going, Dad. That didn't work. And we kind of share that for productivity. So those are the things that I'm trying to base our household narrative on to keep us productive, because in all the interruptions. But then I am chunking. I'm trying to get up early. I did a fitness thing a few years ago, never completed it because life was too busy. And I thought, wow, if I can't complete it now. So I'm doing this kind of body weight flexibility thing, which has just been brilliant to do. I signed up, started a poetry course. Can you hear a pattern here? A couple of in October last year, and I did 3/4 of it, didn't quite finish it. So I've basically said I'm doing nothing online before 10 in the morning except my fitness and my poetry and my reading, because I just want to absorb in this time. Then I'm working on business from kind of 10 till 12, trying to do webinars, just trying to stay connected with people, really. Who knows how long this will last, and trying to see the shape of how things come out. But as ever, it's all about relationships. How do you so Simon Sinclair, who made a comment earlier, he and I WhatsApp each other 2-3 times a week, just staying connected with people, hearing people's story and hearing that narrative. And I've tried to place a higher priority in hearing those people I work with story right now, because I want to hear what's going on. I don't want to be offering stuff that's not useful or not time relevant. I just want to be hearing that story. Then in the afternoon, I take my shift of homeschool educator and try and support my kids through that. And then I work another 2 chunks in the afternoon, another 2 hours either side of tea. I'm reading Atomic Habits at the moment. I don't know if you've read that book. Absolutely phenomenal. And I picked up some really good stuff in there. So actually my laptop and my phone, I'm actually putting away in my filing cabinet at about 8 o'clock every evening. Just that little step, Abby, has revolutionized how my evenings goes, because I'd always be a little bit twitchy, wonder if someone's tweeted that, or if I'm going to put a tweet out at 9 o'clock that I haven't scheduled, I'll quickly open it, put it out, and chuck the laptop back in the filing cabinet. And that has just really, really helped me manage that. But like everything, I've had to hold this all lightly, because just stuff is happening that just means that I just get interrupted an awful lot more by my kids, by my family, by what's going on. I've had to reduce my expectations about productivity, like I've had to reduce my expectations about how much my kids are going to get through educationally. I've had to just be honest with myself and go, look, Rich, if you're going to be present, Dad, in this time, let's just reduce that, because I'm in the house. Because it's not like if I went to the office, I wouldn't be interrupted. That's different. But I'm here, so they're going to interrupt me. And that's just
so let me ask you this question. And has this time helped you to identify what really matters to move your business forward? Are you spotting things that you might have been doing before where you had more time, but it wasn't necessarily beneficial? Are you identifying
Yeah, definitely. And Alice and I had a conversation the other day saying, do you want to be as busy as you were before? Do you want to return to that level of intensity and busyness? And no, the ideal would be not to do that, and starting to work out just little things like lots of my clients would often ask me to come and see them so they could get to meet me face to face. And I understand that. But now I am going to be a bit more hard nosed. Going to be like, look, I'd love to do that, but we're used to Zooming now. I'm going to Zoom it because it's just fun. It means I'm fresher, which means if you book me when I come to you, I'll be fresher for you. And what the delivery you'll get to your coaches or your parents will be far more impacting, because I will be more awake and more present in that process. It does really, for me, focus, because sport is where I dwell, and sport is really exciting. Sport plays a really unique part in our society. I think we're missing sport, but also it's showing sport to be not as important, perhaps. And I don't mean physical activity. Obviously, we should all be. I'm talking about sport as in the spectacle of sport, the gladiatorial spectacle of sport. And so actually, just I've always wanted to hold that lightly, but certainly I'm trying to hold that a little bit more lightly and see how that goes. And yes, there's lots of little green shoots of ideas coming up, thinking, I could make that work, or this time has given this opportunity to make that work. And certainly it's made me think more globally. I've started to think, I love some of my American sports. I haven't really invested much time into pursuing that, but this time has given me a bit more time to start thinking about it. I'm reading around those and watching those a bit more.
Amazing. I love that sort of just bringing the 888 into this conversation. It's helped you to identify what your balance is, because much as we can love what we do, we're here to live as well as to work. So finding that balance, and this terrible, challenging time right now is giving us all the opportunity to take away benefits as well. So final question, what ideas would you like to share with us, with the audience, with everybody who's watching this either live or on the replay, around sort of making time for yourself and around keeping that fun? I mean, you've already mentioned that you do your morning activity until 10. So is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think for couples, this is quite an interesting time. So Wednesday morning, Alice and I did that. normally we would always walk the dog together every Wednesday morning when the kids were in school. Our kids are old enough for us to be able to leave them at home for that hour and a half, and that's just been. We had a date on Saturday night where we've got like a weird little lean-to, because my wife's a forest school teacher, where we dry all the tarps and ropes if it's been really wet. Well, she hasn't been out doing forest school, so it's just an empty shelter. So bless her, she made a beach, and we went to the beach for the evening together, on which my kids thought was hilarious. They want to plan the next day. We're fine. That could be a bit weird, but we'll give them a chance to kind of do that. And so so I think, like, really, and I'm still really trying to think about, have I spent 20 minutes with each kid today? So I'm still really thinking, because we're all together, you can just assume you've spent that time. But am I doing something as dad just for them? Am I doing something as dad just for her? And am I doing something as dad just for her as well? And trying to be really honest about carving out hobby time. And again, I think normally parenting is a tag team event anyway. And it's kind of saying, right, when do you want space? Right, I'll protect that. When do you want space? I'll protect that, and kind of working with each other to do that. I think my concern about this time in the early days was that everyone was like turning into New Year's resolutions. You know, everyone's going to get super fit and start all these hobbies and things like that. And if you can manage to do that, great. Go for it. But I think for those of us who are wearing all these hats and juggling busy things, just keeping our well-being centered, picking up a few new things would just be an epic tribute to this time. And for me, when am I going to get it that my kids' schools are shut for 2-3 months ever again? I'm never going to get that ever again. So for me, it's about deepening that connection and maintaining that productivity. And that might mean business suffers a bit, but you know what? For that gift, I'll personally, and I understand for different people, I'll take that financial hit for this season, because I recognise that, like you say, it's awful, but it has presented some gift opportunities and moments.
I love this. Thank you. Such a beautiful reframe. So, final question, where can we find out more about you? Because if you can't tell, Richard is a fountain of information. And where are you online?
Oh, thank you. So, I'm on LinkedIn. So, obviously, Abby will tag me in this stuff. You can find me at non-perfectdad.co.uk. That's my website where I put bits and pieces up. I'm on Twitter, where I'm pretty active on Twitter. I also run a space called Sports Parents Alliance, which is a kind of online community for sports parents to be able to share honestly, learn how to structure our week, think about the questions we're asking kids in normal sport time and in this time as well. And you can find that at sportsparentsalliance.co.uk. But there's a link from that to my website as well. I'd love to hear how this helps people, because this is a slightly new space for me as well, Abby, and I really appreciate you putting this on. So yeah, give us some feedback, guys. Let's chat. Let's carry on the conversation.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for your time and all your top tips. So Richard's going to put all of those links into the comments after this in case you didn't catch them. But Richard, thank you for your time. Guys, thank you for being with us live, and for those of you joining on the replay, as Richard said, leave any questions in the comments and we'll get to them. And until tomorrow, if you are joining me, stay safe, stay well, and don't forget to wash your hands.